All people with a mental illness are violent. This, of course, is a myth. Thankfully, as the world becomes more aware of mental health conditions, this misconception is slowly dying away. Even individuals who are experiencing the most serious conditions, such as schizophrenia, are mostly non-violent. It is true that some people with certain mental illnesses can become violent and unpredictable, but they are in the minority. The authors of a review that investigates that links between mental health and violence help explain why this myth might have gained traction over the years. Violence attracts attention in the news media. Violence in the context of mental illness can be specially sensationalized, which only deepens the stigma that already permeates our patients' lives. The authors of the review conclude that individuals with mental illness, when appropriately treated, do not pose any increased risk of violence over the general population. The overall impact of mental illness as a factor in the violence that occurs in society as a whole appears to be overemphasized. Although there certainly is a relationship between violence and mental illness, one author explains, members of the public exaggerate both the strength of the association between mental illness and violence and their own personal risk. People with mental illness are much more often the victims of violence rather than the perpetrators. However, people with some types of mental disorder are more likely to be violent than others in the general population, a fact that is uncomfortable for many in the mental health sector. While there is a little evidence to suggest that people with mental illness is, in general, usually those with diagnosis of depression or anxiety disorders, have any increased risk of perpetrating violence compared with the general population. High rates of violence perpetration have been identified among people with particular types of severe mental illness, namely schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. However, these rates are only moderately raised compared with the general population. The rates of violence are significantly raised in people who have triple morbidity. For instance, individuals with a severe mental disorder, a substance use disorder, and an antisocial personality disorder. In summary, mental health conditions are common, but treatment is available. We must all work together to remove the myths and stigma attached to mental disorders. Although society's understanding of mental health issues has come on leaps and bounds compared with just a decade ago, we still have mountains to climb. Although the topic receives increasing attention and research, there are still many myths and misconceptions associated with mental health. Sadly, there is still a significant stigma attached to mental health conditions, with much of this relying on old-fashioned thinking and outdated assumptions. As with many things in life, the more information we are armed with, the less likely we are allow myths to color our opinions. In the not so distant past, society shunned people with mental health conditions. Some people believed that evil spirits or divine retribution are responsible for mental illness. Although this way of thinking has been extricated from society in much of the world, it still casts a long shadow. As 2020 continues unabated, the mental health of the world has taken a beating. Addressing untruths relating to our mental well being is more pressing than ever.